Isn't yet. Is that an overreaction? I think it is, because I...
do it in NBA history record. All of the thresholds, all of the marks, he's going to have them both. Right now, there's one player who is in the top 30 in career points and career assists. It's Oscar Robertson. LeBron's going to finish first and third in those categories. Right now, the thing Michael Jordan has that is just, it's impenetrable armor is he was 6-0 in the finals. Yeah, aided by the fact that 5 times he lost in either the first round or the conference finals. So he couldn't lose those NBA finals. LeBron, by the way, is 24-2 in the first round in conference finals in his career. And I would just ask you this, because numbers isn't going to sway anybody. I get it. I just have an honest question for you, Kevin Wildes. Sure. If LeBron James and Michael Jordan switched places just for those final series, do you think the Bulls would still be 6-0? Because I do. And do you think Michael, if he went to those 10 finals LeBron went to, he'd be 4-6? Because I do. I think he'd be a different 4. I think he would have beaten the Mavs and lost to the Warriors. I think he'd still be 4-6.
Florida, with the
so
echoes
the finals record
still
is
ringing in our ears from the north end zone. The Bucks were introduced a moment ago, and they are all set as their guys will do battle.
He's bigger, stronger, and faster in a tougher era. So I don't think this is going to end up with a debate. And I think it's not coincidental that the people who are most adamant about it are people who grew up idolizing Michael.
Position. They'll start at the 32.
Look, I think that's fair. So a few things. Number one, all the counting stats are going to go to LeBron because he didn't go to North Carolina like Jordan did. But so we have to take Jordan's national championship and throw it in the garbage. And Jordan also retired to play baseball and came back and then retired again and then came back. So his career is a little bit more
Brady gonna throw.
Not standard as LeBron's is. But here's my
biggest
by
thing. Mike Evans.
I'm gonna
be taken down, but not before they work it across midfield.
A guy with 2 championships, 2 finals MVPs,
right there.
a league MVP, 3 all-defense teams, 1 defensive player of the year, 9 scoring titles. Do you think that player is one of the best players of all time? Definitely a Hall of Famer.
Brady now on first down.
That's the difference between LeBron and Michael Jordan.
And some room to work.
Jordan is not, it's like, oh, it's close. It's not. It's
inside the 20.
Hall of Fame
a big
career.
Play that time on the catch and run.
So he's still chasing in the counting numbers
around the game long enough that we know that in pregame, defenses are pretty amped up, aren't they? I mean, they're pounding lockers and they can't wait to get out there.
But
when you hit them with some big pass plays
he's
early,
rolled this take out and they kind of went away.
And the Bucks are going to be set up with a first and goal coming up as they get him down at the 6-yard line.
Michael Jordan
his passing's been on point on this drive, hasn't it? Been very accurate, gotten the ball downfield, gained nice chunks of yardage, but now, in this situation, the field is really condensed, partner. So if he's going to throw the football, it has to be pinpoint here.
I was going to ask you about that. Field shrinks, has to be sharper, but it's been a good opening drive so far.
ESPN
now they just want to see if they can cap it off
recently,
with the bell
within the last couple of years, and 70 to 80% of the people had Jordan and LeBron. The Athletic just released their top 75 players in order. Jordan was 1, LeBron was 2. Nick, you started out talking about Wildes and I are insecure about this. I think LeBron is showing insecurity because he keeps talking about it. Like you said, he said it to Maverick and Rich and all those guys on one of their shows a couple years ago. Now he says it to Kenny Smith. Kenny Smith's sitting there thinking, I barely got you in my top 5. All right, that's really, because that's true. That's what Kenny had said. And which I think is ridiculous because he's clearly in the top 5. But
now Pinion with a kickoff
LeBron keeps bringing it up. Let other people talk about it. If you're that guy, you don't have to keep telling us. I get it. Muhammad Ali used to always tell us he's the greatest. But Muhammad Ali, that's a part of his shtick. He did it with humor, and he did it. The way we know it was shtick was because he started doing it when there was no evidence whatsoever. Before he even beat Sonny Liston, he was saying he was the greatest ever. All right, so that was part of his whole marketing. All right, LeBron is saying it seriously because he's out there looking at, man, everybody got Jordan ahead of me. Like, I'm putting this out there, and I'm going to give my logic. 3-1 down. Who came back from that? Okay, that logic, Steph Curry could say, I was the only unanimous MVP. Jordan, LeBron, Wilt, Kareem, none of them unanimous. I did something nobody else did. You can't know that argument doesn't hold water. I'm not going to sit here and say the boxer that got up off being knocked down, came back and won the fight, is better than the one who just got in even touched and dominated the fight. Jordan,
what a start defensively. Your offense goes out, gets the touchdown, and then you get the interception. Just perfect.
Because
about the discipline that they showed on defense? Because after the offense scored to go up 7-zip, you would think they might be a little extra aggressive trying to get back at them. Instead, they read their keys well. When they took the shot downfield, they were more than prepared for that one.
Craig Elo and to Patrick Ewing.
The Bucs offense set to begin their next possession. They'll be looking to duplicate the efforts of drive number 1 that resulted in 7 points in a 7-zip lead.
Well, you know how much I enjoy horse racing, right? Looks like they caught a flyer out of the gate, as they would say when you run into big-time races. Means they get out to a fast start. They're setting the pace, making the other team chase now.
The last run got 6, now 2nd and 4.
That's fine. But you can, but here's the thing, and this is why, I'm going to say something incredibly arrogant.
From the gun,
this is why it's so important I'm on television.
That's
because
caught by the big tight end, O.J. Howard.
Have monopolized
this
debate
down to the 40-yard line, tackled there.
So long.
And that's a more than acceptable read right there because it's zone coverage, so timing is everything. This time he waits for his man to come open,
there is not a
puts it right on him, and they pick up a first down.
single team of LeBron's entire run that owned him. He always got him even. He beat the Pistons, beat him. He beat them. He beat him. He beat Golden State. No, they never owned him. He beat him. Hold on. On the flip side, Michael Jordan not only but he got so owned it. Michael Jordan not only never beat Bird in a series, never beat him in a playoff game.
16 yards
The
and another
Detroit
first
Pistons
down.
sent Michael packing 3 years in a row. They owned him. You roll your eyes because it's true.
Did he beat him?
Yeah, and then he beat him once.
Did he beat him?
He beat him
you
once.
Just said
and that Pistons, yes, once. And then that, yes, I understand.
And ended the run.
And that Pistons team they didn't win another playoff series for 10 years because they've been to 3 straight finals. They won 2 championships. They were done.
Oh, this one incomplete. The pressure got to him as he released it.
This is what you guys don't get.
And it's second down.
They've given up a few first downs on this drive, but getting the incompletion there, that should give them
as
something
as
to build on and maybe turn the tide.
It's the same reason why the same time ESPN did their best player ever poll, they did the greatest college player ever poll, and Michael Jordan won that too. So Wilds,
to throw once more on 2nd and 10.
Wilds, let me ask you this.
He sets up the screen to Jones.
Is this a Hall of Fame resume?
And they've got it inside the 10 at the 8.
3 of them first
so many
team
times in my career I've heard coaches talk about completions are one thing.
4
as long
NBA
as we're there
finalists
at the catch and we get guys on the ground, we can live with that.
In your
but if you're going to give up 10, 12, 15 yards after the catch,
then the gap between LeBron and Michael is a Hall of Famer.
And he's able to get it down to the 2-yard line. He'll get 6 on the ground there. There'll be 2nd and goal coming up. Defensively, they must have been expecting a pass. They were in the dime look out there.
I think maybe they were deciding to go with speed on the field rather than bulk. I would be a little bit surprised.
Than Babe Ruth, just because he had long. No, it wasn't. Jordan's peak was higher, without question.
Taking it in from 2
Jordan
yards
had no
out.
weaknesses.
And the Bucs have taken a 13-0 first quarter lead.
In 19 years, LeBron has 4 rings. Jordan had 6 rings in 13.
And it's good, and they have jumped out here to a quick 14-0 first quarter lead.
I hate that we have to take a break, but we do. We'll run it back. First things first continues after this. We're coming back.
I need more time.
First things first.
Following the touchdown now, it's Bradley Pinion on to kick this one away. And here comes a return from just beyond the goal line. And he brings us out past the 20 to the 24.
Magic, LeBron. But most people don't consider LeBron. You can take Steph. LeBron out. For me, it's LeBron. But
Steph?
It's Magic,
I don't know if CP3
Oscar
ever be seen.
Isaiah.
CP3 ever be seen as a better player than Steph. Even though they're games are so different. I know it's hard to qualify.
The Panthers out there and ready to begin their next drive.
Yeah, I agree.
Last time it wasn't pretty. One play and an interception. We'll see if they can do better.
He's right there.
I want to see if they want to go ahead and throw
Kidd,
the ball again.
Nash, Stockton, Gary Payton. You can throw in a whole bunch of guys, even in this era. James Harden, is he a point guard? Really, he is a point guard.
Maybe only Jason Kidd is the only guy I would say.
14-0 the score. This is the NFL on EA Sports.
Maybe not, but there are other guys who we may need to get over still to other people. Chips do matter to me, and I think to fans, because it indicates you could be the best player, or one or two best players, on a championship team. You're displaying some kind of greatness, especially if you've been on a gang of good teams like CP3 has. And what I'm arguing, Jay, is not that he's not good enough, it's that he's been hurt. This whole thing started with he's had the bad luck of getting hurt at the wrong time. Some big news from college this weekend has nothing to do with Juwan Howard. It's after Sports Center.
On first down, it's Darnold. Escaping the pressure right.
We'll be trying to find Curry. No, he's going to turn.
Checks this down to Hubbard. And he'll go down, but not before getting this inside the 30.
And this has been a nice answer to the touchdown drive against them a few minutes ago because they've come out and reestablished the tempo. A nice throw there, and they're putting together a very strong drive as a response.
LeBron James returned home to Cleveland for the All-Star game. He hit the game-winning shot for Team LeBron to earn a 163-160 win over Team Durant. Steph Curry snagged All-Star Game MVP honors as he joined Anthony Davis in 2017 as the only player
on first down, Darnold
50 in an All-Star game, by the way. AD had 52.
That one almost intercepted, but it's incomplete.
16.
Not a good throw there, and it'll be second down.
Phoenix Suns guard Chris Paul, we were just talking
about. That would have been 2 drives in a row with a pick. He's got to start taking care of the ball way better than what we're seeing.
Interestingly, that throw was probably worse than the one he threw the interception on last drive, but fell incomplete. An incomplete pass on first down. That leads to a 2nd and 10.
Is he losing half a step? It looks pretty good. And on Sunday, Michigan coach Juwan Howard wasn't happy with Wisconsin's Greg Gard and his timeout usage at the end of the game in the handshake line. Tensions ran high as Juwan Howard punched the Wisconsin assistant.
And this is going to lead to another first down as the tackle's made at the Buck 16.
These guys have definitely been outplayed in the first half. I like their countenance. I like the way that they haven't panicked out there, the way they're carrying themselves. They're starting to move the ball. And what you have to do, maintain your poise and start to put together some drives.
Oh, he rifles one, and that's going to be intercepted. Mike Edwards picks it off. He's at the 40. Pass the 20. 10.
Are joined by the
and
great
it's a
Paul
pick
Climber.
6. He brings it back to the house for a Buccaneer TD.
Good morning.
Part of what we just saw, that's a great example of a team that was really amped up. They've been playing so well, yet they didn't get overexcited and have a bust on defense and gave up a big play. Instead, they created their own big play with a pick 6. This one may be over.
Yeah, it's just the first half, but that lead has swelled to the point where you're wondering if it is over already.
Because the people that run the sport,
extra point try now for Suckup,
are a group of the pettiest, thin-skinned folks I've ever run into, and that's saying something in the world of sports. I mean,
and it is now 21-0.
Manfred look like he's confident running MLB right now. What happened is this, guys. Last June, a working group, you hear that phrase a lot, came up with a plan for a 12-team playoff. Most everyone signed off on it. Even those who were not sure about how it was going to work said, okay, we'll figure it out.
Get another shot on offense following that pick 6. Another kick is away.
Real. And then this happened. The SEC
and that'll carry over the back line of the end zone for a touchback.
Took refugees from the Big 12, Oklahoma and Texas, and that one moment ended everything. Giddiness began. Shots started being fired. The whole thing literally came apart. And we are sitting here today without a college football playoff expansion. The next possibility of it is 2026.
The Panthers out there and ready to begin their next drive.
Why is that important? We have trouble
last
getting
time,
4 good
decent
teams
field
as
position through
True,
the pick 6.
but
Obviously
it's worth about $450 million a year extra to
good field position means go ahead and attack on offense. Try and press the advantage a little bit. They just have to be better with the football.
And we're stuck with the same old, which means the SEC
because it's exactly what you're supposed to do. You can't have good field position, not try to take advantage of it. Sometimes the defense
others into it, like the Pac-12, which has barely been in the playoff, and other leagues that continue to miss.
What I mean by that is possess the ball for a little while, get at least 2 first downs, give their defense a chance to settle down a little bit after they give up a touchdown.
I think it's pretty sorry, Harry. I was sitting here a couple of days ago trying to come up with a reaction to the news that broke on Friday afternoon.
Looking to throw again on second down.
Really sad because this is a sport that I love and
He's
has tens of millions of followers across the country, if not more. And it's sad that a group of people who are all smart, who are all supposedly well-meaning, a group of academicians and commissioners can't sit in a room. They spent 3 days in Indianapolis 6 weeks ago trying to figure this thing out, and they can't do it because they all have their own fiefdoms, they have their own leagues they're representing, and they just can't come to an agreement. And a lot of it has to do with the Rose Bowl. You always hear this, the Rose Bowl at 4 o'clock on News Day, and the broadcasters talking about the sun setting over the San Gabriel Mountains. That means something to the people of the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. I've been there. It's a nice event. I've been to better. The point being, they won't come up with that. They will not move that game for the betterment of college football. And as a result, we get stuck in this conversation. And the 12-team playoff wasn't going to guarantee excitement, but it was going to be similar to the NFL playoffs, where there's competition to get in. There's competition to have a wild, to be in the wild card, to have a bye, to have home field. That's all gone. We have the same boring playoff that we've had since 2014, and it's interesting that the audience has not grown. The first year, it was way up here. It's gone down almost every year. This year, it bounced back a little bit. And, yeah, we've had 2 Alabama-Georgia games in the last 4 years. Does the country really want that?
We remind you that coming up at halftime, Jonathan Coachman will be alongside. He'll have highlights and analysis from Orlando of this first half of action.
For exciting games. Now we're stuck with the same boring tournament for the next 3 to 4 years, and then we have no earthly idea. The SEC commissioner, Regs, who was on this committee that came up with the plan, said Friday afternoon, I'm not sure we're going to go along with anything at this point, meaning
he did a fine job of not hitting him before the ball arrived, and I've got to tell you, you can often mistime that play because of the angles of approach. When you're going to get him, sometimes you panic as well and think, I've got to be there right now.
And Darnold's got to be intercepted for the 3rd time.
12-year deal that
picked up by Sean Murphy Bunting. And the Buccaneers will have solid field position here as they take over at their 45-yard line.
Even more so,
right?
Understanding where TV rights are going,
Charles, you'd have to think now you bring it up that point, it
makes me start to think about Trappus
and there should be, because essentially he's been a little loose and possibly reckless with the football here in the first half. Now, maybe it's not all on him.
Well, first of all, it's also killed the easiest line we always have. These guys are only in it for the money. They've proven here that they are leaving $500 million on the table for the next couple of years. That money would spend very well into some in the smaller leagues that really need this extra income. And this year we had Cincinnati get in. I don't think it would happen, but I think it's a threat. And in this world that we live in, where superpowers are threatening each other every day, I think the SEC has gone from we're willing to help everyone else, which really was. I mean, the SEC has proven they do not need to expand. They've had a school in the playoffs every single year. And since 2014, twice they've had the national championship game in all-conference deal. So now the SEC, I think, has got to figure out how much do we want to help everyone else. And I wouldn't want to help anyone right now, considering that Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, was part of this and really has been shot at by the other commissioners. Now, what's this really all about?
It's good.
This is about the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Pac-12 forming an alliance to try to stop it. Now, for what reason, I don't know. The Pac-12 is barely in existence anymore from a relevant standpoint. The ACC has done pretty well, although not this year. And the Big Ten manages to show up pretty much every year. Had the ACC, Jay, had a 12-team playoff this year, they would have gotten
now Pinion with the kickoff honors following the touchdown.
Because Clemson had a slightly off year, but instead
here's Christian McCaffrey to return it.
Paul Feinbaum hosts the eponymous
And he nearly broke that for more, but as it is, still a good return. They'll start the drive
today,
right around the 37.
Eastern, by the way, on SEC Network and ESPN app.
The Panthers out there and ready to begin their next drive.
A pleasure, guys.
And with good starting field position and 3 timeouts as well in their pocket, no reason not to try and put a late scoring drive together.
Drama in one college sport to drama in another after Jay has this from O'Reilly.
Trying to shake off the interception from the last drive. He'll look to throw.
Stop in today for store-wide savings.
Oh, he dropped
Existing members who switch to email or text get a $10 bonus reward at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
That's a tough spot.
Earn up to 4 times all reward points on select items throughout the store and online. And you can get a $5 reward when you reach 150 points. Shop, earn points, get rewarded. Not in old rewards. Remember yet? Sign up today at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store or online at O'ReillyAuto.com.
What kind of happens in between?
Well, basically, I addressed with the head coach that I will remember that because of that timeout.
This is Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
If you bought a timeshare for your family, by now you've learned the ugly truth. Timeshares are the only thing that you can buy that you don't know how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. It's like giving them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. Sounds crazy, right? The ugly truth is that this never ends. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, and 10 years ago I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind, helping good folks just like you cancel their timeshare contract. And what that means for you and your family, no more mortgage payments, no more maintenance fee surprises, and no more timeshare. So call today. The call is free, the information kit is free, and I guarantee if we can't cancel your timeshare contract, you'll pay nothing.
Were you lied to when buying a timeshare? Get the facts about timeshare cancellation. Call Wesley now for your free information kit. 800-821-0505. 800-821-0505.
Can we go back?
Are you paying? With Brooklinen, your staycation starts now. Right now, on sale. Our products are long-lasting, comfortable, and delivered right to your door. All of our products are designed to provide you with hotel luxury without breaking the bank.
I say this is better than a hotel. And affordable, too.
Brooklinen, hotel luxury for your home. Currently on sale at Brooklinen.
Better at everything guy wasn't the best player? Okay, yeah, sure. Give me your Bob Cousy takes next, guys.
They just did the positions alphabetically again. It was a big alphabetical weekend. All right, we went over LeBron this weekend. How about LeBron's future? Will the King eventually team up with his son Bronny in the NBA? Tell you why we're asking next. First things first.
Refinancing your student loans to a lower rate through
It is like an explosion of flavor.
Hi, I'm Rashard, and a little thing I love about Chick-fil-A's mac and cheese is the cheesy goodness at the bottom. The way that it combines with the crispy baked layer at the top, it's like that added flavor.
Moment of the day for all the wrong reasons. Michigan, Wisconsin, by now you've probably seen it. Wisconsin's up 15 points in the final 22 seconds. The game is over. Michigan is pressing for some reason, and we're going to have a Wisconsin kid is going to lose his shoe, and so we're going to need a moment for that. And Wisconsin's coach, Greg Gard, is going to call a timeout. And Juwan Howard does not like that, and I suppose understandably so, but it certainly didn't need to lead to this. You see it here, Gard and Howard, they're going to have some words, and then it's going to get much, much worse. Ultimately, and this is the moment that they'll be dealing with for quite some time, Juwan Howard is going to throw, the punch is not the right word, sort of an open hand slap to the face of an assistant coach named Joe Krabenhoft, and then all bets are off. Now the players are going to start getting involved in this. We got punching, we got pushing, we've got shoving. Howard has to be restrained. A guard is going to have to get out of there. They can't really restore the peace because they were the ones creating the problem in the first place. Just a terrible moment in every conceivable way. Here was some of the fallout when it was done.
I didn't like the timeout being called, and I'll be totally honest with you. I thought it was, not necessary at that moment. especially being in a large lead. And then for to have a timeout to be called with 3 seconds or 4 seconds to go, I thought that was, what I felt wasn't fair to our guys. And so that's what happened. Touching me unnecessary it wasn't cause for that when we were talking. And at that point, I thought that was, time to protect myself.
He came up to me and pulled his max down and said, "I'll remember that." And he started pointing at me and tapped me in the chest. And I said, "Hold on. Let me explain to you why I took the timeout." Maybe he doesn't know the rule that you get the 10 seconds reset. I wasn't going to put my players in that type of situation to have to break a press in 4 seconds.
It's the NFL on EA Sports as we are in the inner harbor of Baltimore at M&T Bank Stadium. The two teams emerging from their respective tunnels a minute ago to the approval of this Baltimore crowd. They're all set as their Ravens will match up with the Baltimore Ravens.
Has reached out to the Chancellor Blank to apologize for the totally unacceptable behavior. We will review the situation more thoroughly. And
Justin Tucker set to boom this one away, and off we go from M&T Bank Stadium. Devin Duvernay now returning from the end zone and tackled at the 21-yard line, so a net negative there of 4 yards.
By giving you the floor, what is your reaction to this incident from yesterday?
Well, it was disappointing to see two coaches get in a fight in the handshake line after a game. Is profoundly disappointing. I mean, usually it's the administrators and the coaches that are waving their finger at the players to show decorum and to act the right way. And then when the coaches can't do it, it's really disappointing. And it's also disappointing that people are talking about, well, this guy pressed and this guy called a timeout. So what? None of that matters. The game was over. And if we can't act the right way in the handshake line and then can't take the proper tone in the press conferences
out to his left. That's going to be caught. It's James Prochet. And they're able to get this one across the 35.
Everyone talks about the timeout. Everyone talks about the press. And here's a coach your own team. Juwan Howard should not worry about Greg Gard calling the timeout. And Greg Gard shouldn't worry about Juwan Howard pressing. You do it, it's in the best interest of your team. Now, when those two guys cross, that's what you call a bull bite. Juwan Howard didn't want to deal with Greg Gard. Greg Gard's got to respect that.
They'll throw on first down with Jackson sliding out of the pocket.
Totally unacceptable.
That ball caught. It's Mark Andrews, the tight end.
I'm saying, I talked to my daughter. I said, maybe we should get rid of the handshake lines. How about we just act appropriately? How about we lead as opposed to follow? How about we set an example? What happened yesterday was unacceptable. It was embarrassing to both institutions and obviously escalated to the point where people were in danger. We just set a really bad example.
And so
throwing again on second down. Jackson dancing to his left.
Making the decision.
And he's able to take it across midfield before going out of bounds.
Where would you begin?
Offensively, they liked their situation, so they tried to take a shot downfield, but no one was open. So it was tuck it in run time, and he picks up a first down.
Would get for something similar.
So in Raven territory now, here's a 1st and 10
and Juwan
at the
Howard
47.
being the most culpable for the fact that he threw an open-handed punch or slap, whatever you want to call it. But there are differing levels of culpability here. And
now
what I would say is no one that we're talking about as being involved.
Tackle made by Tyus Bowser.
One of the first questions I would ask in the press conference is,
do
you feel that your words and actions, are you proud of them? Do you feel they were appropriate under the circumstances? I'd like to hear the answer from each one of those involved. But I don't think it should be any less for a player when we expect the coaches to set, as Seth said, to set the standard, set the example.
Yeah, I mean, one might argue that the punishment should be greater for a coach who is expected to be both literally and figuratively the adult in the room. How about you, Seth?
Now it's Jackson.
I totally agree with Jay. I think that it should be severe, quite honestly. If you're supposed to set
he just needed to throw it away, but instead, out of bounds he goes, and that's a sack. He went backwards there 8 yards, and it brings up 3rd down.
Juwan didn't want to shake his hand. That's a bull bite. Boom, just move on. On the other hand, what Juwan did was unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And other players got involved because there are going to be players that are going to be suspended. Because there were players that actually threw punches as well. And you put your team at risk. So, I think it should be severe. I think we need to send a message. Let's be adults. Let's do the right thing. Let's set an example. And to me, that's really important for the league and for the big picture.
Flushed out right. Throw right side is complete to Andrews, his tight end. And he's going to be taken down with the first down at the Ravens' 31-yard line.
Now that's all about making something happen as a quarterback, because instead of forcing something on third down, how about him buying some time outside of the pocket, waiting for someone to come open, and when he did, he put it on him for a big play and a first down.
We shake hands and walk away friends, but
a little bit of space there for the first down run, as that's going to get him about 5 yards.
Brandon, 5 yards on that run.
For the handshake line.
Let's get back to the huddle and make sure if you're a back, you spend time with your offensive line and give them credit. Hard to move those 300-plus pounders at the line of scrimmage, and they did for a significant chunk of yardage.
It doesn't have as much meaning.
From the
it's almost like you're high-fiving everybody just walking by. I get it.
It's a sportsmanship thing,
but I prefer the handshake.
And he's going to be taken down with the first down at the Ravens' 15-yard line.
I don't think we should even discuss getting rid of the handshake line because two coaches couldn't behave properly.
He'll buy some time right, and he'll slide to a halt here, still a little shy of the first down marker. He'll get 8 on the scramble there. It'll be second and a couple.
A little later, guys. Stay Wade and Reggie and Allen Iverson there having fun. Letting the third and Steph again in the corner. That's his 15th. 3 of
Here's
the
Murray running right, and he'll be brought down this time at the 5-yard line.
Target score set at 163.
We're scoreless after one.
That's a ridiculous shot from Steph. He's got 50. Later in the quarter, Team LeBron.
Second quarter now from Baltimore. It's the Ravens in possession. A terrific opening drive has them knocking on the door. First and goal.
So now it's 161-160. Next bucket could win it either way it goes. And you know they're playing this game just a stone's throw.
They'll take it into the end zone for the Ravens touchdown.
For it to finish. LeBron James knocks it down for the game-winning bucket.
Touchdown
right back where it all
began. And the Ravens take it all the way down the field and score on the opening drive.
Team LeBron wins it, and a good time had by all.
I obviously know I'm going to come in and shoot.
Justin Tucker for the extra point.
And then the avalanche started, and a little bit of show, and it was fun. Like, there's good energy in here.
And the Ravens lead at 7-0.
I could not have dreamed of that moment any better in the actuality that just happened. To get a game winner, an all-star game with me and my guys.
Tucker now to kick it away following the touchdown.
To be here, my wife, my kids, my family, my mom, and so many people that
Duvernay going to sit on this in the end zone, so it'll come out to the 25.
Now, LeBron had a lot of things to say over this weekend. We'll get to some of them as we go, but let's talk about Steph. Less than a month from his 34th birthday, he scored 50 points.
Jackson and the Ravens come up now first and 10 at their own 25-yard line. Throwing to start the drive. Jackson.
In an all-star game.
That's complete. It's Rashad Bateman. And they're able to get this one across the 35.
That looked like a pretty good route combination there, because you've got to find a way to clear the guy running the drag, because when you do, you just put the ball on him and then let him run.
Yeah, he's got some space. Line of scrimmage, the 37 on first and 10. From the gun, it's Jackson. He'll find Bateman once more. And he'll be out of bounds after getting this one across the 40. 5 yards on the catch there, brings up second down. Jackson from the shotgun. And that falls to the ground, incomplete. Well, a nice job of bodying him up defensively. And now it brings up third down. Now Jackson. Into double coverage, and it's intercepted. Picked off by the Pro Bowler, Marcus Peters. And he's able to get it back here to the 43-yard line. Before we came up to the booth, last thing he said as we were walking off the field, want to play mistake-free football. Well, that just went out the window there with a pick.
And do you remember what you said to me when we were walking up to the booth after he said that? You're like, oh, fatal last words every time we hear that. things tend to fall apart a little bit, and that's what we saw there. Didn't get enough on that throw, and it turned into an interception.
After the interception, here's Jackson. They'll roll him out right. And he can't find a receiver, and he's brought down. Now, following the sack, they'll come up here on a 2nd down and 12. Here's Jackson to throw. Rolling to his left. Well, that's complete to the fullback, Ricard. And brought down, but able to get it to their 30-yard line. Now Jackson on 1st down, rolling to his right. And this is going to be caught, but they'll say out of bounds. So it's incomplete. Oh, he was hit as he threw it there, and that one winds up incomplete. And there we saw rolling right out of the pocket. Maybe his momentum taking him toward that sideline led him a little too far.
Yeah, that is difficult, isn't it? Plus, you're closing down your space, right? You're shortening the field for your receivers. And their inclination is to go towards the sidelines as fast as the quarterback is as well. Hard for them to throttle down to leave themselves with enough room to stay in bounds and catch the ball.
They snap it at 1. Now it's Jackson sliding out of the pocket. And he'll slide to a halt here, still a little shy of the 1st down marker. He'll end up getting 5 out of that, but now they're looking at 3rd down.
Now, how about that play? He took a possible negative and turned it into positive yardage and slid down to avoid taking a big shot. Excellent job getting down and avoiding the big hit.
2 minutes on the clock, 2nd quarter, 7-0 ball game. To throw is Jackson. Steps away. And he's going to have to eat this one as down he goes. They'll break the huddle here and go for it. This is 4th down.
I'm here all day. I'm here all day. Kill, kill, kill. Turn up. Kill, kill, kill. Turn up. He's coming. He's coming. He's coming. We got double up.
Jackson. He'll buy some time right. And he's got his tight end. That's Andrews. And they do get him down, but not before he's able to slip it inside the 5-yard line. Now the Ravens going to use one of their timeouts. And they'll be disappointed to have to burn one there after giving up the 1st down. A handoff. It's Murray. And he'll get it down close to the goal line, but not quite in. The Ravens going to use the 2nd of their timeouts. So that means they're down to 1 remaining here as we head toward halftime. Now they'll run. Murray. And he will take it in for a Ravens touchdown. Latavius Murray with his 2nd touchdown here in this 1st half. And the Ravens will extend their lead. Tucker able to connect on the extra point, and that'll make the score 14-0. Tucker now to kick it away following the touchdown. Duvernay now going to bring it out. And only able to get this to the 19, so probably should have opted for the touchback. The Baltimore offense at the line, set to get going. as they take over with exactly 1 minute to go here before intermission. They go back to the air here after the INT on the last drive. And that is caught on the right sideline, but out of bounds, says the line judge. The throw took him a little too far. It's second down. After the incomplete pass, here now is 2nd and 10. Throwing is Jackson. And this is going to be hauled in by the tight end Andrews. The 20, 10. A big play there just before halftime. We know he's good at catching the football, but then after the catch, he's got escapability.
Not only that, he's got some toughness as well, because you know he's coached very hard to make sure he battles through, breaks tackles, and then they finish with, but don't fumble the football.
This is 1st and goal and a golden chance to get a score back here before halftime. They'll look to run with Freeman. And he is into the end zone for a Baltimore touchdown. Devontae Freeman taking it in from 2 yards out. And the Ravens are on the board here in the final minute of the first half. Tucker with the extra point, and that'll cut the lead down to a touchdown. Tucker now to kick it away following the touchdown. From the 10. And they'll start this drive just across the 30. Pretty nice work on the return. The Raven offense set at the line for this next drive. And with a 7-point lead, they'll likely look to take this to the locker room and not really press the issue.
Keyshawn, Jim with the Max on ESPN Radio. ESPN,
throwing now, Jackson on first down, eluding the pressure right. And that'll be caught by the big tight end Andrews. The Ravens going to use the second of their timeouts as they'll stop the clock with 24 seconds to go in this first half.
The mirror face, you know who I am. Michigan men's basketball coach John Heck. Guys took a swipe at Wisconsin assistant Joe Krabenhoff's face in the post-game handshake line.
Throwing on first down, it's Jackson. Buying time to his left. And that nearly a turnover, but it's incomplete. Oh, fortunate to retain possession there, and it's second down.
That was an interesting look there, because as soon as he got outside the pocket, I thought he was going to take off and run for yardage. But what often happens now with these quarterbacks who can move, defenses want to try and keep bodies in front of them, and I think that discouraged him from taking off and made him try a pass downfield that fell incomplete.
Michigan head coach.
Throwing again on 2nd and 10. Jackson being chased out left. And he's got his receiver. That's Sammy Watkins. Ravens going to use their 3rd and final timeout as they'll stop it with 13 seconds to play in half number 1.
As we were verbalizing and communicating with one another. So that's what ended up happening. That's what escalated.
If you could, I guess, expand on that a little more. What led to?
I can share with you the story.
Well, as far as touching, I mean, there's obvious touching with the handshake line. It must have been more than that, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Touching me unnecessary. It wasn't cause for that when we were talking. And at that point, I thought that was time to protect myself.
Jackson on first down, escaping the pressure right. He's going to go out of bounds, but he takes this one down just shy of the 20.
Man, defensively, that hurts. They got him out of his rhythm. They had him hemmed in, but somehow he was able to tuck it away and get away for a gain.
He pulled his max down and said, "I'll remember that." He started pointing at me and tapped me in the chest.
So even though it's first down, here's the field goal unit on now to try to get 3 before halftime. From the right hash, it's a 38-yard attempt. And that hits off the left upright, and it caroms away no good. And this score will stay right where it is. And no mistaking that sound. It reverberated through the whole stadium.
And it's the sound, Brandon, no kicker wants to hear. It looked like he had it on target the whole way, but the upright said,
What I saw on the video just now, as they're describing it, is the guard grabs his arm because he doesn't want him to pass. He's trying to tell him something. And once Juwan Howard feels
final play of the half here, it's Jackson. Steps away to his left.
It starts to escalate. Straight talk wireless.
He's going deep for Brown. And that is incomplete. Took a shot there on first down, but he couldn't reel it in. And that'll do it for the end of the second quarter. This is the NFL, and it's on EA Sports. Okay, Coach, thanks as always. This one's still anyone's game as we welcome you back for quarter number 3. The Ravens set to receive the football, trailing here as we resume action in the third quarter. Duvernay now going to bring it out. And he returns this to the 22.
They determine their disciplinary actions and will determine if further disciplinary actions are warranted. So before we even get into what should the punishment be for Juwan Howard and who deserves blame for the incident rising to this level, Jay, just your first reaction to
the Baltimore offense at the line, set to get going. And they're still very much in this game, although they do trail. What's the game plan, Charles, for the second half?
It might be a little counterintuitive because most people will think losing equals passing the ball more, but I'd establish the running game. They kind of went away from it in the first half. I think if they get back in balance, it'll help them when they put the ball back in the air.
Here's Jackson.
I can see where, as me as a comparator, I'll be annoyed.
He's got his man. It's Andrews. And they're going to have this across midfield and inside the 45.
A couple of first downs right in succession, and this is an offense that can really use a good drive, and they're off to a fast start here.
That's a brilliant thought. It's a brilliant thought, because you're right. It is. You can teach how to play the game of basketball all the way and down to the end. That's fine. But we know as basketball players, that's not how the game is.
It's plausible deniability, but it's BS.
Now it's Jackson.
BS.
Complete BS. Right. Okay. And I get it, but you'll win.
He's got the first down here inside the 30. And in for the Ravens touchdown. Rashad Bateman, 44 yards. And the Ravens are an extra point away from tying the football game.
I know these wide receivers are about flash and dash and high-flying plays, but a good number of them played running back at some point in their career, and that's how they finish off a lot of their big plays, run after the catch.
And this time he finishes off the big play in the end zone.
Doesn't warrant what Juwan Howard did, but that escalated the situation.
Tucker able to connect on the extra point, and that will tie our game here in the third.
This season, regular season, and postseason. I do not think he should lose his job, but it's going to be really hard, potentially, for him maybe not to, because of the history.
So a tie ball game here as the kick's away.
Where he had to get separated from Mark Turgeon, it turned into a really big play.
And they will not get a chance to return this one as it's through the end zone for a touchback.
Kill you, right? So when that report comes out like that, knowing the history of it, now leading to this situation where he...
The Raven offense set at the line for this next drive. Their halftime lead now evaporated. We're back to level following that touchdown a moment ago.
And that shouldn't change the mindset a whole lot from an offensive perspective because they already knew this was going to be a hard-fought game. Now they just need to go out, execute their game plan, and keep moving.
Always got some breathing room. Latavius Murray. And all the way in for a Ravens touchdown. Latavius Murray, 75 yards. And the Ravens have taken the lead. Tucker now for the extra point. It's up and good, and that'll make the score 21-14. Tucker now to kick it away following the touchdown.
Because I don't want to dismiss everybody who's involved. Rabbit hole.
No run back here for Duvernay. Touchback out to the 25.
He came over there and escalated the situation as well. Right? But then I don't think a lot of people seen
the Baltimore offense at the line, set to get going. They did what they had to do to start this third quarter. Went down, got the touchdown to cut the lead, but the matching touchdown a moment ago, and we're right back where we started at halftime.
Yeah, you're exactly right, partner. They had a little bounce in their step after scoring that first touchdown, but the defense gave one up, and that's the problem right now. Can they get better play from their defense while they continue to score on offense?
Jackson.
I say this. And I'm not
forced out to his left.
I'm just talking about in general.
It's a loss of a yard there, and it's second down.
We're going to say they're role models. You have coaches out here that are getting DUIs that are way more, I think, critical.
Jackson on the give to Dobbins, finding some room in midfield, and he takes it across the 50 to the 46-yard line. So in Raven territory now. Here's a 1st and 10 at the 46.
Off-the-court behavior and televised on-the-court behavior during a competition.
But see, not in my eyes, not while you're looked at it.
From the gun, Jackson.
Because if that happens to
and the Raven pressure too much. Down he goes. It was Justin Houston, the native of Statesboro, Georgia, with a sack.
It's unbelievable. Like the image of the 6-foot, what's Juwan now? 6'8".
Throwing on 2nd and long. Jackson. This is caught. It's Brown.
They should have put a stamp on me in the locker room because I just delivered.
Marquise Brown, 59 yards. And the Ravens are an extra point away from tying the football game.
You're always like, well,
as a former DB, you might not like to see that, but from a wide receiver's perspective, those are the plays they dream of.
Correct on both counts, all right? Because once he took off, I mean, let's face it, that should have been done in Big Sky country. Aren't any speed limits out there? And off he went. Glad I wasn't the one trying to chase him.
Tucker with the extra point, and that will tie our game here in the third. A couple of teams locked into a good one here. 21 all the score as the kick's away. The risk reward of the onside kick. When you don't get it, the risk comes out to play, and here they gave up great field position.
And that's the key to everything, because you're trying your best to press advantages when you have them, and field position leads you to that type of play calling, and whether you want to blitz or whether you want to throw the ball deep, those types of things. Now that they've given up that type of field position, the advantage is switched to their opponent.
And he can only manage to get a couple. 2nd and 8 coming up.
Well, any lane that might have been open there was closed pretty quickly, and that was because the defensive front, they won that battle at the point of attack at the line of scrimmage. They used great leverage, held their spot, and stacked him up.
The standard needs to be the standard, and we need to stop compromising the standard when it comes to...
From the 31, Jackson dancing to his left. He finds his man, complete. It's Andrews. And this defense going to bring out a couple extra DBs here on 3rd and a yard. Back to throw. Jackson hit, and he lost the football. And it's picked up by the Ravens. And a big turnover there as his guys will get the football back. And that, Charles, you'd have to think a pretty avoidable mistake.
You're exactly right about that, partner, because it all comes down to covering up the football. Look, turnovers are going to happen. They're inevitable. But in a tie game in the third quarter, those turnovers can change the tide of the ball game. And now it's up to the defense to try and bail them out. Got to take care of the rock.
And he's going to have a Ravens first down as he gets this up past the 30.
Well, I can certainly tell my age, partner, because when I was a kid, running backs like J.K. Dobbins with over 2,000 yards in their final season in college, they went early in the draft. Instead, he somehow lasted until the 2nd round. But how great is it to get a guy with that ability who can run it inside, run to the perimeter, and catch the football in the backfield? To be able to get him in the 2nd round, that's what I call a steal.
You don't have to do it right there on the court where it causes that kind of fracture.
Line of scrimmage, the 31 now on 1st and 10. They'll run. It's Dobbins. And he'll be tackled just past the 35 at the 36. 5 yards is the tally on first down. That brings up 2nd and 5.
I'm from the camp of...
And this next topic,
in an effort to convince, talk to the man, get some,
grabbed Juwan Howard.
Wear and watch the end of our men's basketball game. There's no excuse for any of our staff or student athletes to get into a physical altercation with others, regardless of instigating factors. I reached out and apologized to Chris McIntosh, and President Mary Sue Coleman has reached out to UW Chancellor Rebecca Blank to apologize for the totally unacceptable behavior. We will review the situation more thoroughly and work with the Big Ten Conference as they determine their disciplinary actions.
This is what happens sometimes when you abandon the running game. It's hard to get back to it because once guys get out of that mentality of firing out and hitting people, hard to get them started again occasionally.
As big of a play as we've had in this one so far. This is 3rd and 3.
I've got too much respect for Juwan Howard.
Looking to throw.
The man,
Jackson.
The player, and the coach that he
He'll
has
swing
been.
this out to
I got a lot of love for this brother.
And he will have a Ravens first down as they're able to get the 3rd down conversion.
He should be suspended.
Another catch for him there on this drive, Brandon. It looks like they're going to utilize him out of the backfield any way they can. And that time they pick up a first down. So now on defense, do you assign a man to him
he should not
and
be
try
allowed
and
to
cover
coach
him
another
before he
game
gets going
this season. And if he ends up getting fired, if he ends up avoiding getting fired, he would be a very lucky individual because I'm of the opinion it's entirely possible that Juwan Howard's
The run
fired
got 4. Now they deal with a 2nd and 6.
I don't think we can rule that out. I'm not advocating for it. I would never wish that.
Another run here with Dobbins.
He's a good man, and he's a good brother.
Able to power
but
through.
you cannot do.
And he's corralled, but not before getting it inside.
You can talk
the
about what do you mean protecting yourself from Ray Carr shouldn't have touched him. I don't believe he should have called the timeout. You have 14 points. It took 2 seconds left. Come on, man. Work on what you got to do in practice in terms of your team handling the press and all of that stuff. Come on, don't get a rule is a rule. But you didn't have to afford it. There's a gentleman's understanding amongst coaches. There's certain things that you just don't do. And I think that he was wrong to do that fair enough. And if people want to point to the fact that he grabbed Juwan Howard to try and talk to him, that Juwan Howard didn't want to talk to him, and that warrants a game suspension or whatever, all right, so be it. But the biggest culprit, unfortunately, is Juwan Howard. His actions were inexcusable. You swung at the assistant coach.
I like the call
you
there
swung
because
it
that was one
through
to take
people
time
that
off
were
the
in front of
clock
y'all.
and get them
I
closer
don't
to
even
getting
know
out
if that
of here with a
assistant coach
W.
touched you,
In the mind
but
of
you
the play
certainly
caller,
touched him.
all you
You
wanna
threw
hear
a
is
punch and you started damn near brawl. Unless people want to call that a brawl. It was instigated by the head coach of a national program. How could you possibly excuse that when you're supposed to be a leader? How could you possibly excuse that when you're the one that's supposed to be setting the example? Juwan Howard failed miserably in that regard. And then to go into the post-game conference, show no contrition or remorse whatsoever. Basically try to defend your position as if to say, okay, because you didn't like the timeout and you felt it was classless on guard's part or what have you, and then he grabbed you, you put your hand in his face and you told him don't touch him. He was trying to talk to you, but you told him don't touch you. You didn't want to. Well, what does that have to do with you swinging and connecting on a slap or punch or whatever you want to call it with the assistant coach? And then the players that ultimately got into it in the aftermath of all of that, they did so because, again, once Juwan Howard swung that punch, Wisconsin reacted in predictable fashion. The players followed up and did, you know, they were trying to protect their coach, and then all of a sudden, blows were thrown. In the end, it comes down to, if Juwan Howard doesn't throw the punch, none of this happens. You cannot be the head coach of a program and do something like that. He should not be allowed to coach for the rest of the season.
Well, Stephen A., listen, here's the thing, okay? I agree with you. He should get some type of penalty, okay? He should, in my opinion, Juwan Howard should get suspended, but he shouldn't get fired because Greg Gard played a huge role in this and being petty. He knew what he was doing calling that timeout. He know going to Wisconsin That crowd was already rocking. It's a hostile environment. He knew what he was doing. And by the way, when they went in the handshake line, Juwan Howard actually was trying to walk past him, not even trying to talk to him. And when a grown man tells you, don't put your hands on me, hey, don't put your hands on me. That's what escalated the whole thing. By that time, he had already lost his cool. You can see right there at the end of the game. So, and then Greg Gard, he goes into the post-game interview, and he's still saying he's not showing no type of accountability as well when he knew what he was doing. He threw the line out there in the water. He had the shrimp on the hook. He set his reel, and he set his line in the water, and Juwan Howard took the bait. He took the bait. Look at it. This instigating at his finest. This is instigating at his finest. He know that Juwan Howard was mad. Why even go over there trying to talk to the man? Leave him alone. Now, I'm not saying that Juwan Howard was right. He should never throw a punch. You're right. He is a leader of men. He has to lead by example. This guy, we're talking about a guy that had a hell of a NBA career.
They will not get a chance to return this one. It's through the back of the end zone for a touchback.
But both of these guys played a part in this, Stephen A. Let's not let Greg Gard off the hook.
The Raven offense set at the line for this next drive. Look at the clock. Everyone knows the situation. Probably time here for one final play.
Let's call him.
And we know what that play is going to be. It's got to be some sort of Hail Mary, throwing it towards the end zone and hoping someone can catch it or catch it off of a tip.
And I certainly hope that Juwan Howard does not get
Didn't we see Green Bay
pull
that off?
I love the brother, and I'm rooting for him, and I want him to succeed at Michigan. But let's take this into account.
It'd be interesting to see what
You are a head
strategy
coach.
is about who they put on the
You've
field
gone
to
into parents' homes in an effort to convince them to let their kids come to play for your program. As a college coach, as a leader of young men, you're supposed to be showing them the way, because by conducting yourself in appropriate fashion, that gives them guidance as to how they're supposed to act moving forward, so they don't find themselves in situations similar to this one. You failed miserably in that regard. That's number one. Number two, Kendrick Perkins, and most importantly, you pointed out Gard and what he did wrong. What did the assistant coach do? We don't know. He might have said something, but the reality is that's who Juwan Howard hit. So the person that you, Kendrick Perkins, said, let's not let off the hook, that he's responsible to some degree for instigating this whole situation. He wasn't even the one that got hit. Juwan Howard swung on the assistant coach. What was the excuse for that? The assistant coach didn't hit you. The assistant coach didn't touch you. He wasn't the one who touched you or got in your face. You went over people to swing on him. And as a result, there were players that followed up, and of course, the situation got a lot out of control. If you are a program, the Michigan Wolverines program, why do you think the athletic director chimed in immediately and called Wisconsin to apologize and had the president call their chancellor to apologize? Because in the end, they know there is no excuse. There is no justification for Juwan Howard doing what he did. That's the issue here, unfortunately. It truly is.
I understand all this, Stephen A., and I'm not disagreeing.